Till weekend 7. It's my pleasure to have you all over here today. I'm Faraz Shaikh, founder of excelexciting.com. I'm placed in Saudi Arabia. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, innovative educator, and a Microsoft Office master. I have a YouTube channel and I do write blogs on my website on excelexciting.com. I also run meetups with the name of Saudi Arabia Microsoft Excel and Power Platform. So in today's event, we are going to see that how can we work smart, not hard. And we are going to use some amazing tools by Microsoft. So what are our tools? Those are Power Automate and Microsoft Excel Power Query. So let's go and build the solution together. Before we go ahead and start building our solution, let us understand the business scenario. We have received an image file. The file has some numbers and we need to extract those numbers, and that data is in an image. We need to extract that data, push it to the Excel, and we need to build a solution in Power Query. And then we need to send an email automatically. Now this is a repetitive task which need to be done, and we will do it with the help of the tools which I have mentioned you, Power Query and Power Automate. So let's jump now to our demo machine. So let us look at the image file which I was mentioning it earlier. So I have different snapshots of this image. Now we are just going to focus it on the first one right now. As you can see in this data set, we have countries and we have the dates and we have the values. Now if I get a new image file, then it will get updated with the rows and even with the columns. So I need to make sure that I build my solution in such a way that it doesn't break. So let's go first to our Power Automate. And once you open Power Automate, you can just click on the new flow and give a nice name called Get Image Data. And this will create the flow. So this is Power Automate Desktop Flow Designer, the place where we're going to spend most of our time designing the flow. So you can see on your right hand side, you have the variables, and left hand side, you have the actions. And in the actions, let's go and search for text. And we can see all related to the text options are available. And let's go and search OCR, and that is optical character recognition. And from that, we are going to select extract. This is the engine which will help us to connect and convert the image file into text. And let's say save. So this is the first step what we have done. Now once we create that engine, we need to extract that data. So of course that engine has been created and we need to extract it. Now we have different options over here, but let's go and just save image on the disk. So we are just going to go over here, go to my desktop, go to sales data, and this is the file which I have selected right now. Let's say okay, save. So let's run our flow and see how it looks. And when the flow is started running, you can see this turquoise color where it says that the flow is running. And when I click over here and see on view, and we can see that our data is converted into text. Now let's have this text which is over here, which is extracted and kept it in this variable. Let us put it into a text file. So let me go and say write file. So write to a text file. So we can create a text file and we can give the same path which we have given it for the sales one. And we can keep it over here. We can call this as temp.txt. So this is a temporary file which we are creating it, and what we would like to write it over here. Of course, the data what we have extracted from the OCR text, and we are going to say save. Now again, when I will run my flow, you can see that it is going through all those steps. And now when I will come over here, we can see that text file is also created and we have our data. Now we are going to use the help of the Power Query because that will be more efficient to handle such kind of a data which is not consistent. So before that, I'll just like to save my flow. I just make sure that it is saved and save over here. Now let's go and create a new workbook. So let's go and grab that data, going to data and from text, or even you can go and grab it from here from text/CSV. I'm just going to select this, and this is our temp file, and we are going to import it. Now you can see that it has split into different columns. So we don't have to be excited right now because this is going to split it based on the comma. If you see our data set, it was 93,701. So after 93, there is a comma. So that's why it's split it into different columns. So we want to say that no, we don't want any width. We'll just keep it at 0. And then we will see the preview of the data, and this looks good. So I'm just going to say transform the data. Now once I come to transform data, there is already a change type step being applied over here. So I can just remove this step and I can just clean up my data. Just going to remove the blank and the nulls over here. And this looks fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference a query. So I will call this as the main temp. And now I'm going to take the reference of this one. So let's go as the reference. So I'm going to use a delimiter by selecting the column, go over here, delimiter, and every time I will go and split it on each occurrence. I'll say okay, and you can see it has split it into 4 columns. Now remember, my friends, that if I say that use this as first rows as headers, and it has applied the change type step, now these are being hard coded. Now tomorrow if I have some country name coming up, then this solution will not be helpful for us. Now let's go and convert this to a date. So let's say we will add a new step, and even we are getting an error on the date because it's not able to identify that date as a date. So here what is happening, the dash which is there, it's a long dash, so we need to replace that dash as well. So let's go back over here. I'll delete it until end, and let's go back to our main temp file. Now the main temp file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that, hey, if I find anywhere something this big dash, then please replace this big dash. Going to transform, replace values, the big dash with the small dash. The values are being replaced now. And one more bulletproof solution which I would like to do it, that this is based on my experience when I was extracting the data from the OCR text. There is, if you have a comma, you might end up having a space somewhere. So let's go copy this one and go to replace values, and replace values, comma, space, and it has to be just replaced by a comma. So now our solution is bulletproof and it is not going to break. So now what we are going to do, we are going to go and split it by delimiter. So this time my delimiter will not be each occurrence. In fact, I'll go to advanced and I'll select rows. So once I split it into different rows, as you can see, every space occurrence, it is coming at to a new line. Now this way we can clean our data, we can use some tricks and we can manage it. So let's go and add the index column starting from 0. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the group of end of month, India, France, and Brazil, then the date, and then the value for India, value for France, and value for Brazil. Now in this process, I'm just going to say modulo, and the modulo of 4. Every time when the value hit to 4, it is going to say 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So by this way, I have got the group of that each record. Now we want to make sure that this is our first record, second record, third record, and so on. For that one, I'm again going to go to my index, and this time I'm going to say divide the integer by its value. So the value is again going to be the 4. So this is a very important number. You have to remember that we can group that information. So every line record has been grouped now. Now we have a challenge that, let's say that if you have some additional columns coming up, let's say that you have right now is Brazil. So let me go to my Power Automate again, and this time I'm going to change my file name 01 and save, and let's run the flow. Once the flow is completed, now I can go back to my Power Query and I can just go over here and refresh the preview. So as you can see that we need to keep that number dynamic so that it can move correctly. Now the only solution what I can see over here is, let me go back and bring my other records also over here. So let's say 00, back over here, and let's run the file. Meanwhile, we can work on the Power Query. So what we can do is I can create another copy of the temp file, and let's say it's a reference one. And this time I'm going to use only the first row as my value which I needed. So let's go home and keep the first row, keep the top row. And how many numbers of rows? We want to keep the first one. And this one, I'm going to split it again by delimiter, and again going to the advanced and going to the rows. So by this way, I got the headers names which is over here. So I can just call this as my headers, and I can call this as header, and we can add an index column to this one. I'll tell you why we are adding an index column. By this way, you are able to get those rows. So how many rows we have? We have 4, and we need this 4 number over here. Taking the reference of this one, again, I will go and create a reference, and I'm just going to select this column, and we are going to say transform statistics and just count the values. So we got that number 4. Okay, so this is our VIP number. So this VIP number is very important. Okay, so let's go back to our solution, and we can call this as cleanup. Now wherever I have written that number 4, I need to replace it the number which is we have created a VIP number. So I'm just going to go over here to my formula where I have created the number 4, and I'm just going to say VIP underscore number. So that VIP number is over here, and then when I'll go over here into division, and I'm going to say VIP number. Perfect. So everything looks good over here so far. And there are different ways also to create this VIP number where you can take the column length, remove the text, but I find this way is much easier. So by this way, I'm getting that VIP number, which is over here. Now coming to this cleanup file again. Now, as we can see over here that we need to have these text end of month, France, Brazil need to be repeated. If you guessed me right, correct my friends, select the modulo, go to merge queries and select the headers. Now we have that same index number, which is falling the end of month, and we're getting that all that information over here. So we can just simply go and say, okay, perfect. We got that end of month as an header, and we're just going to expand that, and we are going to call this as header names only. And I'm just going to sort my index so it will become easy for me to understand what is happening exactly. I can just go back and see if any step is not required, but be careful that before you delete any step, you don't end up breaking your dependent queries. This step, I know that it's not that important, so I can remove this step. I'll go and click delete. So once we are done here, what we'd like to do is we need to extract those dates from here. So I'm just going to go to add and add a conditional column, which is over here. And with this conditional column, I'm going to call this conditional column as my date. And I'm going to select the column 1, and wherever the operator of my modulo, sorry, not the column 1, but the modulo, where it equals to 0, then go and return me the column 1, or else give me null. That's super easy. So we got that date column, we got all that dates, and since it is being lined up correctly, what we can do is right now right click and we can say go to fill and fill down. So all the dates will get filled down, and now we just need to do a few simple steps just by filtering. We don't need the value of 0 basically. So wherever the zeros are there, as you can see, those are dates, so we don't need that from here, and we can just delete it from here by just filtering it out. And again, we don't need the 0 from here because those are the headers value, so we don't need to repeat that. So we can just remove the 0 from here, uncheck. Now we can see a little bit our data is a bit in shape now, and we can just go and change the type as a whole number, because I'm quite confident that will be in a whole number. Now when I try to change it, this one to a date, let's see that we are going to get an error because this is not in a date format, which is as per my system. So my system date format is MMDDYY. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm just going to go right click and change type using locale. So by locale, I know that in Saudi Arabia, we use the date format international, where we write the dates, the day, month, and then the year. So all I can do is say Saudi Arabic, it will be in Arabic. And when we go in Arabic, you have an international one. So just make sure that you select the international in Arabic, or it will be called as a world. Yeah, yep, it's over here. So you can just go over here and just say date. And once we select OK, so it has converted into proper date format. Let's go and convert this to a whole number. So far, everything is looking good. Now we don't need these modulo and index, so I can just go home and I can remove those columns, and now the magic will happen. Are you ready for this? Just select the header, go to your transform, go to pivot, and now in pivot we are going to have the values, of course, that values which are created over there in that number column, and instead of sum we can do the sum, yes. And there's an option where you can do not aggregate also, so it will not do any aggregation. So right now here we need to do that aggregation. Voila, we have the records cleaned up in a proper format. And I can just remove this division integer. I can go again over here just to make sure that it's in ascending. So I'll just put it into an ascending, and then I can remove this. So I have my clean file ready now, and I can just go straight away, go and hit close and load to. But remember that I have now around like 4 queries. So if I click close and load to, then it will load everything into my workbook. So there's an option to handle this, but let's go to file, option. So it's going to load everything. So instead of that, I'm better going to make it as a connection, and I'll show you that how we can make it only connection so that we can just load the files, the one which we needed. So you have to go to over here, get data, queries option. You can just go to data load, and over here you can say specific custom default load, and you can uncheck this, and this will just load it as a connection only always. Now what we can do is we can just go over here, right click, load to, and load this as a table. We can say it into a new worksheet. Let's do it that way. And we have all our dates ready over here. So the data is ready, we can send it. And in fact, what we can do is that we can even go to clean up data again over here. And as you have seen this data set, we can make unpivot again for this option. So you can normalize the data. Let's say go to reference, again this one, and we are going to say normalize, unpivot other columns. So it has normalized it again, and then we can use it for more detailed analysis. You can push it to your data model, you can create your calendars, and you can publish this report in Power BI. It's very simple. You can just go to Power BI and import this data, and you can use this normalized data to make various reports you like it. So right now we are on Excel. So as you can see that it has already loaded over here, because that setting I have canceled it. If I would have kept it open, then this would be not a problem. So this is the thing which I was mentioning it earlier, that you have to go to data and make sure that you change that setting. So we have cleaned our data. Everything is working fine. Now let's go and test it by adding the new file which is there. Let's say the sales file 002, which is there. Let's go and add 001. Okay, not the 2 one. The 2 is the last final one which we are going to see it. Let's play this and we are going to minimize it. And once it's done, perfect. So this has been done now, and now what we can do is refresh. So once you refresh, and you can see that it has neatly taken this data perfectly. It has added another country, Canada. So now let us dive to another part of this video, which is there. How can we send the files, email it automatically? So again, I'm going to go to my Power Automate, and this time when I will go to my Power Automate, what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that I open my Excel workbook. I open this query, refresh it, and then close it back, copy the data from there, create a new Excel file, attach it to the email, and then send it. It looks a lot, but it's easy, trust me. So let's go to our Power Query, and we can close this one, and we can go to the Power Automate, and in Power Automate, we can go and say that, okay, just launch Excel. So once you click on launch Excel, it will ask you, prompt you, which Excel workbook do you want to launch it. So it's asking you whether you want a blank one or a new one. I'm just going to say that open it from the following document. So I'm just going to say the file which we are using it in our desktop, sales data, and this is my file, sales data. Now whether you like to open it as read only, or if there is any password or something, then you can add it over here and it will open it for us. So let's save this one. So let's run this flow, and we can say this flow is going to go and launch that Excel. As you can see, my workbook is open, but unfortunately I don't have the refresh option over here. I wish in the future updates they were going to add the refresh option, but what I can do is I can use the help of the desktop recorder, and I can just record my actions, and I can start recording. Now what are the actions I will do? It will get record. I want to make sure that we select this sheet which is over here. This is the one, and then what we need to do is we need to go and select the cell, and as you can see the steps are getting recorded over there. Right click, and then I need to go and select the refresh window. So I can say refresh. I can delete this additional step which is coming up over here, and we have that refresh one, and we can say this is finished. So we just want to make sure that it gets refreshed. So you can see that all that steps have been added over here. Now once the data has been refreshed, so let's say that we'll give some time for refreshing. So we will call wait, and we can just call this wait for a few seconds. Let's say like we're going to give sufficient time that the flow should wait so that it can run the queries, and then the next depending action should take place. So the duration we can say, let's say for right now, we can just say 15 seconds. So it will wait for 15 seconds. And after this, what we can do is we need to make a new workbook now. So we're going to say again, launch Excel. And then we can say create a new one. And we are going to say, yes, create a new blank one. And now once it has been launched, we want to make sure that we go and see something in Excel. What do we have in Excel over here? So let's come over here and see something. We can just read the data. We can go and check in something in advance. So in advance, we have the option to get the active sheet. We get all the sheets, but we are interested in copying the cells. So we need to copy the cells from the sheet. So I'm just going to pull this one, and I'm going to put it over here. So we want to make sure that we copy the cells from the instance, Excel instance 1. So Excel instance 1 is the first one which we have created. From that, we need to copy the value, and we want to say that from a range. Now let's go and select the value from a range of cells. So here I need to say A1, A, and in the row I need to say 1. Now there is no action which says end column or end row, but there is an action which says first empty column and first empty row. So let's go and look that action and see how can we put into our solution. Get the first row and this column. So it will give you the first row And we need to select which Excel from which Excel instance. Yes, this is the one which we need to get that. And now still we are getting that error because end column and end row. So it says that the first free column and first free row. So when you go back to Excel, so this is your first free column. This is your first free row. Now what we can do is go back to our Excel cells over here. And here we can call that instance the action which we have created, the first free column and first free row. Now we want to make sure that it doesn't take that empty column or empty row. So I'm just going to minus it 1, and this one also I'm going to minus it 1. Now we want to make sure that we paste those values to that new Excel instance what we have created. So paste it to the cell over here. So we can just copy and move this one over here. We got this Excel instance. This is the second one on a specified cell. Yes, of course, we wanted to paste it always on A and A1. So it is just going to copy and straight away paste it. Now we need to save that Excel, of course, because once we have pasted that values, we want to save it. And what we can do is we can pull that save action. So we are going to say save to and save as, and extension remains the same. So what we can do is we can go and check the path, and I can call this as image data, and this should probably able to save the file. So now once our file has been saved, now we need to call another action. So what we can do is, now this flow is getting bigger and bigger and getting complicated. So what we can do is we can create the subflows. So what you can do is go and create, and you can call this as subflow 1, and we can call this subflow 1 save, or I can say save data to Excel. And we can move all that flows from here on the main flow, and we can just select it holding the shift key all the way down. You can say Control X also, so you can cut it from here and go to your subflow and Control V. So you have basically launched your Excel, you have opened your workbook, you have refreshed it, you have waited for 15 seconds, and then you have got the latest row and column, and then you have copied that, you have launched a new Excel, you have pasted that value, and you have saved it to that Excel. Okay, and then we need to even make sure that we close that Excel, which is that Excel instance 2. Otherwise it will be always open there. Go select here Excel instance 2, and we can say save. In fact, you can straight away use that save as, you can straight away close that Excel instance too, and you can straight away say that save as document to that extension instead of adding another step. So let's do it this way. Okay, so let's save it this way, and we can just copy that path which has been created in the save path. Yes, we know there is an error. Of course, there is no path over there, so we can copy this path which we have created over here and cancel, and we can just delete this and delete it from here. So this just we can save one step, and let's try to open it, put that path and save. So far everything is looking good. Now we can create one more subflow. We can say subflow, and this subflow we can say send email. Now in this subflow we are going to call the Outlook, which is over here, Outlook. We're going to launch the Outlook first, and we say okay, we have launched the Outlook. Let me open the Outlook and show you something. And what we need to do is send an email. So let's go and add that action of email. Once you get this in the account, you have to enter your email account which is there from you would like to send it, and whom you would like to send it also, you have to enter it over here. So let's say that when you come over here, go to your file and go to your account setting, and you'll find this email address over here. So this is the name excelexciting@outlook.com. So this is the one which I will be using right now for our demo. So I will call this, and I'll be copying this, and I'll be sending it to myself only. So I'm just going to paste that same thing, and subject I'll say image converted file. Hi, the file is converted. Now in the place of attachment, we have to attach that file which has been created. So let's save the flow till here, and let's go back to our Excel. And this is the location of that file which we have created. So I can just simply copy this, and in fact I could have created a variable over here, and I could have reuse it again and again over here. So right now let's go over here, send email, and paste that. Now once we have sent the email, we want to make sure that we delete that file. So I'm sure there's an option to delete that file where I can go and say, yeah, here we have. So this is the one, delete. and we can just give that file name, and it is going to delete that file because we don't need it to be on our drive anymore. And after that, I want to make sure that the Excel file which I have opened it, I need to make sure that the first Excel instance is closed. So for that, again, I'm going to call my Excel instance, which is called close Excel, and this will be the instance 1, and I will say that save this document. Let's go to the main flow and call the subflows, so I'll say flow. Now run the subflow. So it is asking me which is the flow which I should run it. So of course the first one is the Excel one, save. Then the second one, which one should I run now? This will be the email one. So if I have some kind of an error, or if I have a very heavy complex flow, you can create the subflows and you can then call it into the main flow. This is really handy and you can easily trigger out your problems. We have it, our subflow, which saves the Excel file, and then we send an email and we close that Excel file from there. And then we make sure that we give a message box. Let's say a message. Now in the message box, it will be just a title, so we'll say Excel weekend 7, the flow ran successfully. And this is just an information, and we are going to say okay. And coming back, I'm closing this Excel and I'm going to say yes, save this one. And let's first try it out with the sales file, which was 001. So I can just change it to 000, not with the 001. And let's run the flow. I'm crossing my finger and I'm hoping my flow will run successfully. We are seeing now it's going to the subflow. Yes, it's launching the Excel. I can see over here. So we have this time now data, which is still Brazil. And I think the email has already sent and we didn't have any errors. Wonderful. So this looks perfect. Okay, so we got this message box saying that the flow ran successfully. And hey, we got our email. Yes, the file is converted. And let's go and see the file. Pretty sure that it should have that data, what we have seen. So we have got the data from the Canada one, not from the Brazil. So here, the reason I know why this had happened, because the time which I have given over here, the 30 second is not sufficient, the 15 seconds. So I need to increase the time ratio over here. And let's say it's for 30 seconds, or let's say it's for 45 seconds that it has to wait till it get refreshed and pull the new data. And then it should go and check the first row and first column. So let's run the flow again. Let me go and save this one. And this time I'm quite confident that when the next email will come, we'll have the correct one. So let's go and grab the data from the file, which is having all that records. So let me go to my main flow and change it to 02. So we can really know, if the things are working or not. So I'm just going to fast forward this so you can quickly see, how things are moving. So here, as you can see, the last file, the latest file which was there, it has automatically picked up the columns correctly and the rows information also. Perfect. So it says that the flow ran successfully. So let's go and wait for our email file to come. And here we have, the new file is here. Let's go and see our file. Perfect. So we have, the file is converted. Regards, Faraz Shaikh. And voila, everything is in place as we need it. So that's all from my end, and I'm really happy to be here to present this and show you this technology, what we are getting, these modern solutions, and how we can build this modern solution and make our workspace very easy. And once again, thank you, Cristiano, for arranging this great event, and it's my pleasure to be here and coming and speaking over here. Thank you, and see you soon in the next Excel event. Bye.